I apologize.
And we are the largest, one of the largest employers in the area. So that's a great start. And also, this is a new prime minister. This is not the old prime minister that got in trouble. He actually was at the World Bank, and he came to visit because we are a very, very large licensed grow, arguably one of the largest, if not the largest, in the world at 495 hectares. And we've made substantial progress since the visit of the king, which was a little over a year and a half ago. So the government keeps tabs on us to see how we're doing because it's very much of a cooperative effort. And now we're producing thousands of kilograms of high grade flour. GACP is around the corner, 4 to 6 weeks. It's just a
Wow.
matter of building infrastructure. And we're already selling within Africa, and we'll be exporting out of Africa within the next 4 to 6 weeks. But what we're finding is a very large business within Africa itself at very high margins. So I wouldn't be surprised if all the product we have currently on our menu or on the shelf is sold off before we even get GACP.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yep, yep. There's a lot of demand medicinally in Africa in and of itself, and that's indicated in our presentations and indicated just by the research. It's very much how do I say it? It's not a cultural taboo in Africa, as we know from just Ethiopia and Haile Selassie and Jamaica and all of that good stuff.
Wow. That's really, really impressive. So let's talk a little bit about the Triangle Canna update. Can you give
Okay.
us a little bit of update on that?
Well, we are waiting. We're just waiting for the county licenses, and it's a unique process where the county, Lake County, and the state are working in parallel because it's such a massive number of licenses. No company to date has applied for more than 200 licenses in the state. I think 190 is the largest, which is Pro Farms.
Wow.
This is 260 plus licenses just in the first phase. Then you're looking at 20 acres of greenhouse, which I think is as large, or if not larger, than what Glasshouse is planning, which was just purchased by Mercer. The one thing that's really cool is we got our CEQA study done, which is our California environmental impact study done. And that's a big deal that like went through 20 agencies. So
Wow.
typically what you would do is you would get what you typically would do is you would get your early activation, do your CEQA, apply for permanent licenses. So we're getting our early activation, have our CEQA in, and we hopefully will get all the greenhouses cleared by June or July as well. And we're just waiting for that approval. And that, I mean, that's a really big announcement. California's largest number of licenses to one company, which
Wow.
would be Triangle, as we call it, which is a joint venture between us and Green Matter, as well as to be able to say that the largest single site grow in California and the third largest in the United States is quite a significant achievement.
That's a huge achievement. Congratulations on all your hard work and effort you guys
Yeah,
are
it's still not
putting in.
there. Still not time to light the cigar, so to speak, or the
Yeah, for
canagar, as
sure.
we would say.
Well, I think that you guys have done a lot of progress. You guys have had a lot of progress. And, as a company that's now working internationally and is, getting into psychedelics, we haven't even
Right.
gone into that. And that's a whole nother world. And you guys are now becoming a major player in the cannabis space. I'm excited to see what you guys can do with psychedelics. You guys are in Malta, you guys are in the UK, you guys are in Africa, you guys are in Canada, you guys are in the US. I mean, it's a lot of work. When do you sleep?
Yeah, I don't sleep actually.
I'm just kidding.
But no, the I think part of it also is rationalizing the business. So, as we look at it, there are really three segments to the business. There's the US segment, there's the international segment, which we include Canada in that, where they're federally legal frameworks for marijuana, either medicinally or recreationally. And then there's all the non 280E businesses we bought, which we've already announced that we're spinning out to shareholders through a return of capital and a return of shares on the CSE. And we've called that Halo Tech.
Yes.
And so looking at the international businesses, they have a longer lead time of growth, but they have a higher growth potential. Africa has, tremendous growth potential, like I've never seen in cannabis. And they're already, MJ Pharma is already shipping GMP product to Germany, albeit on a small scale. You have other people actively now in Lesotho as well that have struggled through, let's call it the early years. We've been there almost 3 years, and you're starting to see massive scale. And I think, I hope we'll be putting out an update in the next week, just talking about just some of the numbers we're hitting there, meaning that we're growing real high quality cannabis that could be sold in California dispensaries in Africa. And it took us a while to dial it in. It took us probably 2 years of propagation to dial it in. But now it's pretty much dialed in, and we're really cranking, and Andreas is there and Gordy's there. We've been actively recruiting a head person for the international business. Actually, it looks like we're finalizing hiring someone who's very prominent, and
Great.
and that'll be great. And the one thing that's interesting, people say, NASDAQ, what are our plans? Well, really, we as a plant-touching U.S. company operating in California and in Oregon, unless there's a change in federal legislation, cannot go on NASDAQ. But ironically, our international operations, if we were to organize them into a separate company, could list on NASDAQ. Flora just did it. Our former vice chairman, Fred, actually is a director there. They filed an F1 and they just listed on NASDAQ and raised a bunch of money with Bowstead Securities. So our international assets potentially can list on NASDAQ, and they could list within the next 3 to 6 months. Because we have the audits done, everything's done. And I believe, it's just personally, that our international assets, if they were floated on NASDAQ or the LSE based on other public comparable companies, could exceed our entire market cap that we have now. And that's
Wow.
to the benefit of our shareholders.
Of course.
I saw Robbie's business, MG Pharma or MGC Pharma, list on the LSE, and he's doing less. I think he's doing less revenue than we do in Africa, and he's listed at what, 150 million pounds or something on the LSE, and it's trading. So the international business really is where the future is at. And that's why, we sent, basically we're three partners, Philip, Andreas, and myself. And Andreas moved to Lesotho. He's down there with his family right now, living and building that out. I'd say living the dream. He's living the African dream right now as winter approaches.
It's a big undertaking to go into
Yeah.
another country and, like you said, to grow California style cannabis in Africa is not a small undertaking. That's a big undertaking. You said it took you some time, but you
Yeah.
figured it out. We want some of that here in Vancouver.
Oh yeah, we're growing Holy Grail, Chocoloop. We're growing some bomb stuff. And I hear
I
in
know you guys
Germany,
are.
Gorilla Glue's all the rave. We got a lot of great Gorilla Glue out there. We'll show some test results. We'll show what we have. And hopefully Andreas is, continuing the business to business African sales, right? So that's going really well.
you've touched on a bunch of questions, and a bunch of the questions that people have had, you've already answered, which is great. And there's a whole bunch of more questions. Before I get into those questions from the audience, and we have over 84 people watching right now, we've had almost 100 on all social media watching us live. Can you go through the Q1 financials? I thought that they were impressive. I went through it. I was
Yeah.
impressed. I thought
So
that you guys are in the right direction.
what's really interesting about it is it's almost like you got to look at it as a graph. So as a public company, we have a certain fixed cost that goes like this. And what we're trying to do is reduce that fixed cost, like legal's a massive cost in this business, by bringing in a general counsel. We now have security. We pay a fortune in security. We're bringing in a head of security to bring security in-house. We've spent a ton of money on regulatory affairs. We just hired Robin Francisco, who was at Havahart previously, with Ryan being our vice chairman, come in to head up regulatory affairs. So what we see is a leveling off and a reduction in, let's call it, our public company costs. So now it's a question of throwing off enough operating profit contribution to cover those costs. Currently, let's say we're clipping at around 4 million a month in sales. And we're right now, I'd say in every month we're improving, right? Um, Obviously, April to May, we're not going to probably improve in revenues because April's 420, but May Memorial Day kicks in, you never know. But we're growing every month, but our margins are improving. And all of our operating businesses, with the exception of Lesotho, are finally throwing off cash, which is a big achievement for us. So,
Absolutely.
besides like what we're sinking into Africa and into the UK, which is a longer term investment, the rest of the company is throwing off cash. Now it's a question of at what revenue level, we're at 4 million, do we start to realize positive EBITDA? And it's really at that level of I would say about 10 million. So at about 10 million, we're EBITDA positive. Now, a lot of people say, well, how do you get to 10 million from 4 million? That makes no sense. And what I tell them is it's really simple. Our core business, which is the sale of cannabis products to dispensaries in Oregon and California, continue to grow. And I think over the next 3 to 6 months, we can grow it from 4 to 6 million, right? So there you go, 2 million. We're bringing up our dispensaries. I'd say that we'll bring up, I was just talking with Philip and Katie about this. We should bring up our first one in Westwood in July, and it's a prime location. It's Little Santa Monica and Beverly Glen, right by that 24-hour McDonald's. It's really cranking. So we're going to
Wow.
get that going by July. And then by August, I want to get Franklin Village going, which G Easy literally can walk to from his home up in the Hollywood Hills.
So
Um,
cool.
and
So cool that you're working with G Easy, man.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm a
cool.
huge
It's
fan of
cool. No,
his.
no, my daughters were saying, "Oh, do you know G Easy?" And I said, "God, I just got to LA and I haven't spoken to him, and I need to meet with him regarding this one packaging thing." So I just messaged him, and he messaged me back right away saying, "I'm
Wow.
in the studio. Come tomorrow, and set up a time." But no, he's very into it, and it's not like he's a paid celebrity. We don't pay him. He's an equity owner in Flower Shop. He
Oh
owns
yeah,
25% of it. So
absolutely. You guys are in business together. I've seen you guys sitting down together, and it's
yeah,
pretty wild. It's pretty wild. It's cool,
yeah.
man.
And so not to digress, but so 4 to 6 million, let's say we take up our core dispensary business.
Yeah.
Um, and then we kick in our own dispensaries, let's say conservatively 2 million, 2 million a month, 3 million a month by the end of the year. Then we just got to find another, say, $1 million somewhere, right? And then, you're looking at probably 10 million run rate. And as
I
I
see
said,
it.
at 8 million, we're profitable. And then
I
what ends up
remember.
happening, it's sort of like what I call butts on seats in a theater or in seats on an airplane. The money just starts to fall to the bottom line, you know? And so that
Absolutely.
is, that's the formula. It's a simple formula to success.
Well, I
And
mean, you
then
guys have already been
learning,
growing. I mean, like, just look at your revenue growth. I mean, I remember when it wasn't that long ago when you guys were only doing 1 million a month.
that's right. I mean,
So, I mean,
it's growing really fast.
that's
And I
right.
think that besides just through what I call delivering better and better results every quarter, um, what I think that we need to do also is, as I said, we return Halo Tech capital to shareholders. That should give us 3 to 4 cents right there of value to shareholders. And if we're able to somehow organize our international business and actually, list it, I mean, that could return double the share price to shareholders,
Absolutely.
conservatively.
Absolutely.
That's why I spent all my 35,000 in my brokerage account yesterday. Got to wire more money in. Just found out that wire money, and I'm not in Canada, and my brokerage account is in Canada, and TD, I have to join their private banking group to be able to not have to walk into a bank and wire money into my brokerage account. But yeah, but no, I'm a firm believer. Someone just asked a question about, Ryan K. Ryan is completely active. He's active in two areas. The first thing he's active in is Ryan does a lot of work in Washington with cookies and the Jungle Boys. So he's active in trying to get us licenses in Oregon, with top players. The second thing is he's a massive indoor grower in Washington. So he's helping us develop our indoor grow strategy in California and in Oregon. And the third thing he's doing, which he's very active in, is he's fully active in the dispensaries. I mean, here's a guy who's, with Mr. Green and Have a Heart is the largest dispensary operator in Washington. And everyone forgets that he's the one that sold the 10 dispensaries to Harvest in California that now is High Times dispensaries. I mean, he operated those. So he is very, very active. I mean, we speak every day. He's flying to Bar X to try to figure out how we position the greenhouses with Jed next week. He was just in LA with Katie, walking through the dispensary sites, getting construction crews lined up. I mean, Rob and Francisco, he just brought to us. He's bringing a person to head up security so we can reduce cost. He's referring general counsel to us. He's slowly bringing his team over, right? So, he's, definitely, if you want to interview him at one point, I'm sure he'd love to do that.
I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah,
know me. I like to interview everyone.
that's true.
The more we get the chance to get to know the company and the CEO and CFO and the marketing team, the more investors get comfortable with the company, the more familiar they get with the company, the more that they want to invest in the company. I think that that's a big part of Rich TV Live, and we've been doing this for quite some time, and a lot of our community really loves Halo Labs.
Right. Yeah,
And a lot of our
right.
community loves what you've done, Kieran. And there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of people here because you guys have built a lot of momentum in a market that has been bumpy,
Oh,
right?
it's
It's been
been
bumpy.
really choppy. It's been
Yeah, like,
choppy.
and I don't just mean the overall stock market. I mean the cannabis sector.
Right.
Cannabis sector has been super up and down. We've seen highs that were just incredible highs. We've seen lows that were just terrible lows, and it's kind of stabilized now. And we've seen that in America specifically, very, very successful. We've seen some huge success stories in America. As a
Correct.
Canadian, it's kind of humbling and kind of frustrating because we haven't seen the success. We just haven't. Investors haven't seen it. Companies haven't seen it. So, because you guys are an international player, because you guys are in America, mainly based in America, but now spreading your wings and growing internationally, how do you think you're well positioned right now to be that company that people consider investing their money into. Because a lot of people are asking the question, why should I invest in Halo? There's
Okay.
so many competitors. There's 400 companies out there.
Well, I
Halo.
think that if you look at where Halo's valued relative to its competitors, just on a publicly comparable basis, it's not getting that. It's only getting value for California and Oregon. If, as I said, if the international assets alone, they would comp at over 150 million US. That's 200 million. The
Huge.
international assets alone are worth more than our entire market cap, right? Halo Tech, everyone said, oh, you bought a bunch of crappy assets. Wow, someone's actually investing $1 million to $2 million at a $30 million valuation. Canadian. That's 2 cents a share, three
So,
cents
Kieran,
a
can you
share.
explain exactly how that works for investors? What exactly are
It's
they going to
really
get? Let's say,
simple. So
yeah, please.
so basically, we take all the Halo Tech assets, we put it
Yeah,
in its own public company,
yeah.
and we float it on the CSE, and it
Okay.
trades, and all those shares go to shareholders. Their dividend or the capital's returned to the shareholders. So
So,
everyone who's a shareholder at the time of record gets a share in a brand new CSE company. And
so if
don't
you
think we're
own,
just sitting on our hands there.
absolutely. So if you own $1,000 worth of Halo, you're going to
Right.
get how much worth of tech? Do you know
You'll
the
get
numbers?
about, it's about 5%. So meaning not in
5%.
that sense, but it's again, you'll get about 3 cents of Halo share value that isn't factored into Halo's stock in tech.
Okay. So,
So,
guys,
so
what
effectively, you
essentially
get
what
another
Kieran is
three
saying is,
cents of value,
yeah, so
and that's
essentially what Kieran is
assuming we
saying is
don't we
if you're a
don't.
shareholder, sorry, if what you're saying is if you're a shareholder of Halo Labs, and is there the specific date they need to be shareholders by?
Um, well, I think the record date's probably going to come within the next 60 days. What
So
we're
if you're a
what
shareholder in the next 60 days, you're going to get a dividend, which would be like free shares of a spin out company that will be on the Canadian Securities Exchange.
correct,
Beautiful.
correct,
So this is a
correct,
gift for shareholders for
right,
being a long-term investor in Halo. The investors that get in and hold their shares will get free shares of this new pubco that will be opening up, and that's all. That's always awesome when you're a shareholder and you get a gift or a dividend from a company. So I
and
applaud
and
that. I
and
think that's
and
great.
that is also part of our intent with our international assets that aren't getting value, is to again, we believe that they as a separate company run by its own, you know, let's say CEO and its own board, our shareholders will get value. I mean, we are large shareholders, so we're all about giving the shareholders value. So it's the same concept that if we can pull it off, right, a Halo shareholder will get shares in a NASDAQ company that's comprised of our international assets, or an LSE company, right? So that is exactly what we're planning to do. And someone says a dividend in this sector is unheard of. And that's true, correct. And a US cannabis company owning European assets was unheard of until we did it, and Cura just did it, right? Which is the largest US company, you know? Um, it is a dividend of sorts. It's a return of capital. I'm watching people discuss it. But in essence, people who own Halo shares on that record date will get shares in a CSE company called Halo Tech.
Beautiful.
Similarly, if we do the same thing with our international assets, they will get shares in that business as well. And right now, the only sector that's hot is the LSE, and right now, NASDAQ with international cannabis plays outside North America.
So
Someone
there's
asked, if you own a warrant, are you entitled to it? No, unless you exercise the warrant and own a share, you're not entitled to it. A warrant is just the right to buy a share, but you don't get the rights with it.
We have a question here from Lorebox. Who will be appointed CEO of the Bophelo spinoff? A big name?
So all I can say is that I had a conversation with Bruce Linton because he knew both of the candidates he knew one of them intimately, and I thought he knew the other one. And he told me that the one person that we really liked is well worth his weight in gold, and he recommended him highly for the job. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. And
Okay.
this is from Adele. You mentioned on a conference call yesterday that there will be no reverse.
Right.
So, how do we get to the NASDAQ with the share structure right now without a reverse? Or is the reverse only in the case of you're ready to make the application for the NASDAQ?
Okay. So again, when you look at Halo's financial results,
Yeah.
what you're seeing is sales, almost 95% of the sales. There was a little sales in Africa booked, but 95% of the sales are California and Oregon. When you look at gross profit, you're seeing California and Oregon. When you look at all that SG&A, you're seeing California, Oregon, Halo Tech, international, everything. Okay? Hence, you have a loss because we're investing in international and tech businesses. Now, when you spin off tech, you get a CSE company. If you spin out international, boom, you get a NASDAQ company through what's known as an F Frank 1 listing, as opposed to an S, which is a SAM/1 listing for a US company. So now you have a NASDAQ company. Now let's say things with the Biden administration progress, safe harbor passes, then again, Halo being Oregon and California, and let's say by that time, maybe Washington or a few other states, which is a US focused business, can then potentially list on NASDAQ. At that point, we would have to reverse split our stock like High Tide is doing currently,
Yes.
right? In
Yes.
order to go on NASDAQ. So that reverse split is for going on potentially having the ability to strike on NASDAQ. And as opposed to, and the reason we're doing two as opposed to one is because we may want to have to do it gently because say we're trading at 10 cents, you don't want to go to 10 cents to $5, right? So
Because
that's why we're doing two,
a lot of
because we don't
investors might
want to,
not be happy.
in trader terms, losing losing the bid. Someone said there's a lot of AP, but you know what's funny is look at our working capital, which is current assets minus current liabilities. That is a higher ratio than even the large MSOs. Our
Great.
working capital. So if our AP is 8 million, I'm sure my inventory is 15 to 20 million, right? So, when I look at my adjusted inventory and everything, and the other thing people don't realize is that the marijuana business is a working capital intensive business. So
Yes.
you need to look at someone's balance sheet as much as you need to look at their income statement, right? The balance
Absolutely.
sheet is critical, and that's
Yeah.
where a lot of the value is in the balance sheet.
And that's where the Canadian companies have really dropped the ball because they were unable to. They initially saved a lot of money, but then they just burnt through it. They just
Right.
burnt through it. So they weren't managing their vault properly. I guess assuming that the money was just going to come in and last forever, even though they were spending it at an alarming rate. And some of them still are.
So,
Cannabis
so
growth and
this is not a question anyone's asked me, but this is a question I want to answer that I keep getting asked.
yes,
So the one thing about Halo now is we're set, meaning the deck is set. We're not looking at any one large acquisition, right? Where we're going to print a lot of shares. We're looking at smaller deals, let's say 12 million and under, where we just round out. right? Less than 10% of our market cap. So we need indoor grows in Oregon. We need more cultivation in Oregon. We're going to go get that, right? But they're smaller deals. Where we can, we're going to use debt because now we have predictable, stable cash flow, so we can use debt. So we're going to try to lever every part of our balance sheet. We're going to try to use preferred shares, as you suggested, because now we've grown up and we can do that. So you're not going to see what people were calling massive dilution, but that massive dilution also was accretive because we've grown 4 times. But
You
now we're
acquired your
putting
growth.
off.
You used
Yeah,
your shares to acquire your growth, which is it's the reason why you're public in the first place. So
right,
I agree with the moves that you made, and unfortunately, short term for investors, they haven't seen that upside like we've seen with TrueLeaf and
right,
CureLeaf, Grow Generation Corp in the U.S. We've
right,
seen some ridiculous upside with some of these companies, but what you're talking about, the creative value, the assets, the revenue growth has been tremendous because, like I said, we've been talking for over a year. And I remember when you guys were just growing to 1 million a month, and now you're at 4 million a month. That's substantial growth. That's, to put that in perspective, guys, that's going from making like 12 million a year. A year later, you're making, and I know your guidance is 75 million this year. Well,
right.
that's a huge jump in revenue. I mean, if you've ever run a business, it isn't that easy to just grow a business from 1 million a month, which is a lot already, but let's say 12 million a year to 75 million a year, which is around 6 million a month. That's your guidance. That's 600% revenue growth. So that's impressive in itself. So to say, hey, you can't get to 10 million when you've already proven that you can go from 1 million to 4 million, I think that that's just natural. That's your natural growth trajectory,
Yep.
right? Based
No,
on the
I
way you're growing, that's your natural growth trajectory. As long as you can keep
exactly.
your balance sheet safe and healthy, which you have been, and you can find a plan for the share structure, which you're clearly thinking about and talking about, I think you're positioned to do extremely well. And I've seen a lot of companies that have gone to the NASDAQ that don't have a healthy balance sheet and they don't have anything close to your revenue. So they're not
Right.
selling out the door the way you guys are. And that's something that I focus on. Now there's a question in the chat. Can you see this question that's on the
Yeah.
screen?
Which one?
Can you answer to that?
Which one? I
The
see a
Canna
lot.
Health.
I see what it made.
The one that's at the bottom says, Kiran, is Canna Health also going to do a stock buyback similar to Halo Tech when it spins off? What's the book value on Canmart and Bophelo?
So it's not really the book value, but it's the market value. And we have bankers, or what they're known as book runners in England, looking at that right now. But my view is the value of that is equal to or greater than the value of our current market cap today. And I believe our current market cap only reflects our results in Oregon and California.
And you've
People
said that.
really are giving so that's my, and then there's another one here, which is what risks may arise in the event of federal legalization. And what I have to say about that is Oregon, I would say the Emerald Triangle is the place to be when we federally legalize. Let's look at the companies from top to bottom that are there. Cookies, Canna Health, right? No, Canna Craft. Sorry about that. Um, Connected, Triangle with us, then going up to Southern Oregon, ourselves, Buddies. This big companies are based. Cura, I mean, Cura has large operations in Oregon and in Northern California too. This is where, you know, this is the where what Napa Valley is to wine, the Emerald Triangle is to marijuana. It is the appellation. It is where marijuana grows the best. It is the highest quality, lowest cost place to grow. I don't see people growing in upstate New York when we federally legalize. You will see a mad rush, especially into Oregon, because Oregon does not have cash, huge, how do I say it? Huge taxes, cultivation taxes, and alike that California has. It doesn't have bureaucracy. So the reason we first set up in Southern Oregon was we thought many moons ago, before Trump was president, that's how long we've been around, um, that that Southern Oregon would become the home base of cannabis in a federally legalized world. So federal legalization to us is something we would embrace. And that's what we've really positioned ourselves for by focusing where we have in the Emerald Triangle. I mean, operations in Ukiah, Lake County, as well as Medford, Oregon. I drive among these areas all the time. It's 5 hours of driving back and forth through Humboldt and that whole area, and that is marijuana country. And right below us is Napa and Sonoma, which is wine country.
So you touched on the legalization, and when Biden was going against Trump, that was one of his key focus points. I want to legalize cannabis. And obviously, that will bring a lot of revenue to America. And with the amount of money that's being printed consistently to try to reopen and rebuild America, I think that would be good for the dollar and for all the inflation issues and to have some more money coming into the coffers. Where do you think that is right now? Because I haven't heard much about it.
You
Is
know,
that going? Is that happening? Do you
I,
hear
I, I,
anything?
I, I believe a lot of people believe SAFE will pass. If SAFE
Wow.
passes, that's a game changer,
A Safe
right?
Banking Act.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that would be a big game changer.
Huge.
Um, and as I'm sitting here wearing my hemp shirt, by the way, this is 100% hemp. Um,
Nice.
you guys got to buy hemp, right? If you walk the walk, if you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. Um, my belief is that they've done a lot with hemp. That just reminded me they've passed a lot of federal laws now that allow CBD and hemp and everyone else to for those businesses to thrive. And soon, I hope they'll do the same with marijuana. I mean, banking is a
Absolutely.
pain, getting loans are a pain. But recently, I saw a Veridian report that GTI's cost of capital's gone down. We're seeing our cost of capital going down.
Great.
Um, you know, and then a lot of people, you said something that's interesting about True Relief and about Cura, and these guys have already done this. They've already
Yeah.
zoomed, right?
Exploded.
And I remember what I always say is buy low, sell high, and I'm able to buy now, so I'm buying where we're at, and I see only upside to the company personally,
Incredible.
like I said, I look to buy more stock, now that we've reported the year, we've reported the quarter, um, you know, uh, I hope to buy more stock soon as well, just got to get the money up to Canada somehow. You guys with this COVID lockdown up there is tough.
It's crazy over here.
Yeah,
It's the most craziest place ever.
yeah,
So we have a lot of questions about where you guys are going to be in the next 2 to 3 years.
right.
Can you give us kind of a, if we were to look through a crystal ball, what Halo is going to look like in 2 or 3 years? What would it look like?
Well, the way I look at it is a sum of parts. So I would love to see Halo Tech sort of on its own, just trading itself at, say, 25 cents by itself. Right now, every shareholder would get like 3 cents of value. We're putting a good management team in place there. They have visions of what they're wanting to do in what I call the non 280E picks and axes area, like Grow Generation you were talking about, and others. I believe they're a picks and axes type company, like Green Lane is, Green Lane Kushco. That would be great. I would love to see the international business actually deliver a dollar to our existing shareholders. I think it's totally undervalued. I would love to see that. And I'd love to see our core business be where we're at now, maybe 9 cents. I'd love to see it at 50 cents. You don't invest in Halo, and I didn't found Halo to double my money. I didn't put in, if you guys look historically, between myself and my family, we've put in probably even through just even try. I mean, geez, we've probably put in over the years 5 to 10 million US, right?
Wow.
Personally, right? And so I didn't put that money. I could have put that money into Apple. I could have put it into Facebook, and done quite well. But in a company like Halo, you're not looking to double your money. You're not looking to triple your money. This is your high alpha money. This is your 10x money, you
I
know?
love it. I love
Right.
that. I love that. And I say that to people. I was like, so many investors nowadays, they want instant gratification. They buy a stock, they buy a cryptocurrency, they want instant gratification. If they don't make money tomorrow, they're out of the pick already. This is the
Right.
new world we're in. Like everyone wants instant gratification. But everyone I know that is successful, including yourself, they're long-term investors. All of them. They're long-term investors. People are right now being really difficult with Elon Musk, putting words in his mouth, saying that he's selling this and selling that, and he keeps coming out saying, "I haven't sold anything." And you
Right.
don't become Elon Musk by being, a seller. You become Elon Musk by believing in what you're doing and going almost bankrupt multiple times and investing in yourself and doubling down on yourself and doubling down on yourself and doubling down on yourself until eventually you explode. And that's how you become Elon Musk. You've got the same story. You got the same trajectory. You said it yourself. You're betting on yourself. You put in 5 to 10 million yourself into this project so
Right.
that you can 10x. So, guys, you can see what Kiran is saying without saying it. If you read between the lines, he wants to do extremely well with this project and he's not looking to sell at these prices. He's accumulating, he's buying
Right. No, I
because he
mean
believes it's undervalued.
we've put in money into the convertibles every round. Even the last bought deals, we've put in some money. All of us have put in money as directors, and all of us have been putting in money. Someone talked about if this is really hemp. Of course, it's really hemp. It's 100% hemp. You know what's the good thing about hemp, by the way, and cannabis shirts and stuff? You can wear it for a couple of days and it won't stink. Don't tell anyone that, but I've only worn this for 2 days now, but it works well, and I'm sort of in this deep sort of right now work mode. Just trying to rally the troops around the world. But you're right, the day starts very early. With the whole prime minister thing in Africa. I had to be up, I don't know, like at 3 or 4 in the morning, and then the helicopters came, and I had to broadcast the speech, and I had to look like you with the suit yesterday. So today I'm saying I'm going a little bit more hemp, you know?
You know what? I really appreciate you coming on the show. We've been live for almost 50 minutes. We still got 90 people here listening to every single word. What do you want to tell to those investors? There's a huge community that's really building behind Halo Collective. What message do you want to deliver to the investors, the investment community that's here watching right now?
Well, we have a plan. We're executing the plan. Uh, and it's a very, very clear plan. There are a lot of moving parts. There's some accelerations, there's some delays, but on whole, we're a little ahead of where we thought we would be at this point. And I was really surprised at the fact that looking at headset data and BDS data by any measure, we're number one in the state of Oregon, and Oregon is arguably the toughest state in the country, to make money. Everyone's always said it's the lowest price state, and we're throwing off operating profit contribution in the toughest state where no other, and that's where there's only Cura's the only other MSO there through Select, and I think they're in fourth position. Uh, but I shouldn't have said that. Now they'll probably put a lot of money in and whack me around a little bit. But in any event, no, we've done really, really well in Oregon, and we have a really diverse bag. We're doing a similar strategy in California. We have a lot of growth in California. International, sky's the limit, and we're going to look to return that value to shareholders sooner rather than later. And I myself purchased stock yesterday, everything that was in my brokerage account at the time. And I'm a believer in what we're doing. And the team is growing and the fixed costs are stabilizing and the operating profit is rising and the margins are rising and the revenue's rising. So it's all good. There's a lot of upside there, you know? So let's keep rocking.
Yeah, no, we're really excited to have you on the show. Thank you for all your hard work and your dedication to this company, to your shareholders. The fact that you're even coming out here and answering all the questions, and you're always willing to answer the questions. And one thing I can tell you guys, I've actually met Kiran, and he's exactly the same way in real life that he is in camera. So what you see is what you get. This is a man that's really committed to his work and to this company. So thank you for your commitment to what you do, Kiran. You've done a great job. And like I said, I think you've done a great job of really building community because I see it. I see it when people are watching, people are on different groups talking about it. When I do a video and I get all the passion coming back from investors hitting me up with question after question, ask Kieran this, ask Kieran that. So there's a lot of sophisticated investors from all over the world that are in this stock,
Right.
specifically in the three major markets in Canada, United States, and Germany. There's a
Right.
lot of investors that are into this company that believe in you, and you're doing a great job. Keep up the great work. And we'd love to invite you back here on Rich TV Live anytime you have any big news, breaking news, or you just want to have a discussion like we are today, talking about
Sure.
some of the big updates that are happening.
I hope to have some really big breaking news in the next 2 weeks, and so I'll come on when that happens.
That would be great. I appreciate that. We
Okay.
love
And then
having you here.
someone
It's a
asked
great team.
someone asked something interesting is what is the longest I've ever worn a hemp shirt? I've worn one for 4 days, but then it gets to be like it gets to be like cardboard. It doesn't stink, but it starts to feel like you're wearing cardboard after 4 days. So 2 days is about the right amount for hemp, if you want to know. Okay. All right. Thanks,
So much.
everybody. Take
Thank
care.
you. Have yourself a great day, Kieran. Thank you so much for joining
Sure.
us. I know you're a
All
busy
right.
man.
Thanks for
Let you get
having
back
me.
to work.
Thanks for having
And
me,
thank you
Rich.
guys for watching. If you're not winning, you're not watching. This is your host, Rich from Rich TV Live. If you guys like the video, please smash the like button, comment down below, share the video everywhere, and subscribe. And remember, Rich TV Live and Rich Picks Daily is strictly for information and education purposes. Do your due diligence, do your research before you invest in anything that we talk about here on Rich TV Live. Invest in the best. The best is blessed, and you deserve the best. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Kieran. Have a nice day, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.